Hi. When I tried to say hello to Itzhak, one of his cohorts spies the camera. Bob Norman, my name's Bob Norman. Grabs it with his hand and spins it away, then promptly accuses us of attacking him.
Sir, where you are? Why are you attacking people?
For a law enforcement booster, Itzhak has had his share of controversy and trouble.
Targeting a Miami-Dade County-based organized crime family called the Corporation.
This is a press conference announcing the 2004 bust of the Corporation, or Cuban Mafia, a group allegedly involved in arson, cocaine trafficking, and even murder. Itzhak was allegedly involved in money laundering for the group and was indicted on racketeering and illegal gambling charges that were later dropped. He cooperated with the feds and pleaded guilty to tax evasion for a sentence of probation. A federal prosecutor later wrote that Itzhak wasn't involved in the criminal activity and wasn't aware money going into his businesses was coming from the Cuban Mafia. In 2003, Itzhak was also convicted of trying to board a flight at Fort Lauderdale Hollywood International Airport with a loaded pistol. The Israeli-born Itzhak has purchased tens of millions of dollars worth of property in Broward. The big question here is why the sheriff would accept so much campaign money from a convicted felon.
Honestly, it infuriates me.
Guttenberg is talking about an apparent crime that occurred at Douglas exactly 4 years to the day prior to the massacre, when two 17-year-old students bullied a 14-year-old freshman in a revolting fashion, with one holding down the younger boy while the other kicked the victim, grabbed his genitals, and then grabbed the victim's own baseball bat and began shoving it against his buttocks, simulating rape through the boy's clothes. What makes the incident newsworthy is that the deputy who handled the case was Peterson, and the assailant who held down the victim was the sheriff's own son, Brett.
It's not just Broward County Sheriff's Deputy Scott Peterson who did not go into Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School on Wednesday during the shooting crisis and in the aftermath of the massacre that killed 17 students and teachers. Sources tell me that Coral Springs police officers who arrived on the scene were surprised to find 3 other Broward County Sheriff's deputies also outside the school. They had not entered the school. The deputies, these sources say, had their pistols drawn and they were behind their vehicles having taken cover. Not one of them had gone into the school. With direction from the Broward deputies who were outside, Coral Springs police soon started entering the building where the shooter was thought to be. New Broward County Sheriff's deputies arrived on the scene. 2 of those deputies and an officer from local Sunrise, Florida, joined the Coral Springs police as they all went into the building to try to help the kids and teachers. Some Coral Springs police were stunned and upset that as they went in, the 4 original Broward County Sheriff's deputies who were first on the scene did not appear to join them as they entered the school, sources tell me. What these Coral Springs officers observed, though not their feelings about it, will be released in a report likely next week. Now, sources cautioned me that tapes are currently being reviewed and official accounts could ultimately differ from the recollections of the officers on the scene. The Broward County Sheriff's Office did not return multiple requests for comment today. It's unclear whether the shooter was still in the building when Coral Springs police arrived. Things may have reached a boiling point in this confrontation the night after the shooting on February 15th, where at a vigil in front of dozens of others, Coral Springs City Manager Mike Goodrum confronted Broward County Sheriff Scott Israel. A source familiar with the conversation tells me that Goodrum was upset that the Broward deputies had remained outside the school while kids inside could have been bleeding out, among other reasons. Goodrum said in a statement to CNN, quote, "Given the horrific events of that day, emotions were running high, and I had a heated moment following the following evening. Sheriff Israel and I have spoken several times since, and I can assure you that our departments have a good working relationship and the utmost respect for each other." Goodrum declined to tell me about the content of their confrontation. 2 days after the shooting, we should note, Coral Springs Police Chief Tony Postizzi addressed some of the concerns voiced by his officers in an internal email obtained by CNN that said, among other items, quote, "I understand that another agency has given the impression that it had provided the majority of the rescue efforts and that the tremendous work of the Coral Springs Police and Fire Departments has not been recognized. Please know that this issue will be addressed and the truth will come out in time."
I was in my classroom and I'm sitting in the first seat, and it was right next to the door, and we heard a couple loud noises in a row, and we thought it might have been something upstairs. And about 30 seconds later, we walk out of the classroom casually, thinking it was nothing, and then you hear 4 or 5 gunshots, and I was with 4 other girls, and everybody else ran inside the classroom, but I've already walked out too far, really close to the building. And since it was a fire drill, we walked right into the parking lot over there, and then we realized we were in the wrong zone, so we walked in front of the building again, and we walked to the other parking lot, and there was a golf cart that came with Mr. Hickson and Coach Weiss and another police officer screaming at us that it was a code red, and I ran into the only classroom that had no windows with my friend and my 3 other classmates.
So Debbie, tell me what happened on February 14th, what your husband did.
Well, my husband was security monitor at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas, so when the call came over that there was something going on in the building, of course it was his job to run over and find out what was going on. So he ran into the building and encountered the shooter, and at some point in there tried to disarm him and lost his life trying to do that.
What's your birthday?
Hello, we're at Stoneman Douglas High School, and I think there's a shooter.
Hello? You still there? Talk to me, please.
(911), what is your emergency?
Yes, I just got a call from Douglas High School. A female on the line advised me they believe there's a shooter at the school.
Okay, at Douglas High School in what city?
In Parkland, 5901
oh,
Pine
okay.
Island.
5901 Pine Island?
Yes.
Okay, let me see if they're working anything there. And a second-hand information from a student?
A female called in. It sounded like possible shots in the background. I think I heard 5 or 6 in 2 different bursts.
17 Juliet 3, 17 Bravo 3, 17 Bravo 4.
17 Juliet 3, we have possible, could be Parkland, because I think we got shots fired. Possible shots fired, 1200 building.
Attention all units in District 15, possible shots fired at 5901 Pine Island Road at Stoneman Douglas High School. Possible shots fired at Stoneman Douglas High School.
And I'm staring at him thinking, why is the police here?
I'm not going to discuss
Sure.
that
Speculation,
further.
right? Did the delay, did officers think there was a second shooter at one point?
The way we operate, we always think there is. In reality, that we always do. We always play a +1.
But did the delay play into that?
We always believe that there is one, so we're always treating it as such.
stairwell to the second floor and shot one victim in room 1234 on the second floor.
We went to the site Thursday after the shooting. We got there early afternoon. We went to the school building 45 minutes after they took the last body out. I cannot begin to tell you how horrific what we saw was. Nobody in this room should ever see it or even hear about it. We brought the legislative leadership down over those 3 days, first 3 days after the shooting, which really brought about a commitment at the top of the bodies to do something.